What if I told you the world you wake up in every day isn't real? Not in the way you've been taught to believe. Not solid, not stable, not objective. Everything, your body, your thoughts, the people you meet, even the walls around you. It's all part of an illusion, crafted so perfectly that you've never thought to question it. You were born into it. It greeted you with lullabies, names, and rules. It wrapped you in comfort, only to build invisible walls around your mind. And from your very first breath, you were conditioned to forget. Forget what you truly are, and where you really came from. But deep down, you felt it. That strange moment of déjà vu. That feeling that something's off. That this reality is missing something essential. You feel it when you look at the stars for too long, or when a quiet voice whispers, "There's more than this." That voice isn't your imagination. It's memory, trying to wake you up. We've been told that the universe is a physical machine, cold, random, meaningless, that we're just accidents of biology, floating on a rock, chasing survival. But what if that's the real illusion? What if the physical world is just a stage, and you, the actor, forgot it was ever a play? You see, the greatest trick of this reality wasn't to convince you that it's real. It was to make you stop asking questions. They taught you to trust your senses, to only believe what you can see, hear, touch. But your senses are limited. They show you a filtered version of existence. You see less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. You hear only a narrow band of sound. Your brain fills in gaps, creates patterns, makes up stories, just to keep you functional inside the illusion. And yet, we call that reality. But reality, true reality, doesn't begin with what's outside of you. It begins with consciousness, with perception. You are not observing the world. You are creating it, moment by moment, thought by thought, belief by belief. Reality bends to your attention, not the other way around. This is why mystics, sages, and ancient civilizations all taught the same thing. All is mind, not metaphorically, literally. The universe is mental. It's not made of matter. It's made of awareness shaped into form. What you think is solid is just slowed down energy. What you call real is just perception agreed upon by the collective. And what you believe becomes law in your personal universe. This is why two people can live in the same world, but experience entirely different lives. One sees beauty, meaning, connection. The other sees chaos, fear, and limitation. They're not wrong. They're just tuned into different frequencies, different layers of the illusion. And now, you're beginning to remember that. The illusion was never designed to destroy you. It was built to distract you, to keep you asleep just long enough for you to forget what you are truly capable of. You were taught to chase approval, chase success, chase love, chase meaning. Always seeking, never finding. Because the more you search out there, the further you drift from the truth inside. The system feeds on your distraction. It gives you labels to wear: student, employee, believer, citizen. Identities built from the outside in. But none of those are you. You are not the role you play. You are the awareness behind the role. The observer, the architect. Every structure you trust, religion, government, media, science, they all built their authority by convincing you that the mystery of existence is outside your reach. They gave you dogma instead of discovery, answers instead of questions, and a cage disguised as comfort. But ancient wisdom says otherwise. The Hermetic teachings, the Emerald tablets, The Gnostic Gospels, they didn't tell you what to believe. They gave you a mirror, not to see your face, but to see your essence. And that's what makes this truth dangerous. Because once you know you're the one projecting reality onto the canvas of existence, you no longer obey the script. You start to write your own, and the illusion begins to crack. There's a reason they never taught you this in school. A reason your education was filled with facts, but void of meaning. Because meaning is dangerous to systems built on control. If you begin to question the nature of reality, you start to question the nature of authority. And if you realize that reality isn't fixed, then neither is the power of those who claim to rule it. This is why ancient knowledge was hidden, not because it was irrelevant, but because it was revolutionary. The Emerald Tablets didn't tell stories. They revealed the mechanics of consciousness. Gnostic texts didn't create a religion. They exposed the prison. And Hermetic laws weren't philosophy. They were blueprints for navigating the illusion. The greatest threat to any control system is a human being who remembers that they are more than a body, more than a mind, more than a name. You were taught to believe that you are small, a product of chance, a temporary flicker in an indifferent cosmos. But that's not truth. That's programming. Because if you truly remembered what you are, if you saw beyond the veil, you wouldn't ask for permission. You wouldn't need saving. You wouldn't fear death, or follow blindly, or beg for purpose. You'd walk as the architect of your experience, and the world around you would respond. Because the illusion is not your enemy. It's your initiation. You were never meant to stay asleep forever. The illusion was designed as a challenge, not a punishment. A veil placed not to trap you, but to test whether you'd ever choose to look beyond it. And now, something inside you is waking up. Not because of what you're learning, but because you're remembering. This feeling, this inner knowing, it's not something you're hearing for the first time. It's a reunion with something ancient inside of you. The universe doesn't whisper truth through textbooks. It speaks through symbols, synchronicities, dreams, intuition, subtle echoes from the deeper layers of reality, nudging you to remember that you're not just in the illusion. You're co-creating it. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, sends ripples into the field around you. The energy you carry becomes the lens through which you see, and the magnet that pulls experiences into form. This is not spiritual fantasy. It's the law of reality, hidden in plain sight. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is a being of infinite awareness, momentarily playing the role of a limited human inside a dream you agreed to forget. But the forgetting was never permanent. It was a choice. And so is waking up. And once you do, once the illusion begins to fade, you start to see it for what it really is. Not a prison, but a playground of potential, waiting for you to remember how to shape it. You see, the illusion only holds power over those who forget their dreaming. But the moment you become aware within the dream, you gain access to the hidden controls. This is what the mystics called lucidity, not just in sleep, but in waking life. Lucid living. In this state, you no longer react blindly to external events. You respond with clarity, intention, presence. You begin to see that every challenge is a reflection, every obstacle a symbol, every synchronicity a message from the deeper structure of reality. The part of reality that responds not to effort, but to energy. This is why ancient teachings weren't instructions for survival. They were instructions for mastery. You are not here to escape the illusion. You are here to remember how to play within it, with purpose, with power, with presence. The universe doesn't test you because it's cruel. It mirrors you because it's precise. If you're holding fear, it shows you fear. If you radiate trust, it meets you with flow. The outer world bends to the blueprint of your inner world. And the moment you change within, everything around you begins to shift. Not instantly, not always visibly, but inevitably. Because energy is not theory, it's law. And the more you align with who you truly are, the more the illusion loses its grip. Not because it disappears, but because you stop mistaking it for the whole truth. And that's where real power begins. The greatest secret they never wanted you to know is that reality doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. And once you accept that, truly accept it, you stop looking for permission to change your life. You stop asking for signs because you realize you are the sign. You stop waiting for alignment because you are the alignment. This is why systems of power, for thousands of years, did everything they could to keep this truth buried. They built institutions on forgetfulness. They replaced wisdom with doctrine, experience with obedience. Because a human being who knows how reality works can no longer be controlled by fear, guilt, or doubt. That kind of human is dangerous, not to others, but to systems built on illusion. So instead of teaching you how your thoughts shape reality, they taught you to silence your imagination. Instead of teaching you how energy responds to intention, they trained you to worship authority. Instead of showing you the mirror, they handed you a mask and told you it was your face. But the moment you begin to unlearn, the system starts to crack. And not because you're fighting it, but because you're no longer feeding it. You don't need to rebel. You just need to remember. Because once you remember that everything out there is a projection of what's in here, you reclaim your place, not as a passive observer, but as a conscious creator. Once the illusion begins to crack, you start to see the patterns, not just around you, but within you. You notice how your thoughts aren't random, how your emotions are feedback, how every event, every person, every cycle was trying to show you something all along. The universe isn't testing you, it's mirroring you. And once you become aware of the mirror, you begin to clean the glass. This is why awareness is the first step. Always. Because until you see the pattern, you repeat it. Until you feel the frequency, you transmit it unconsciously. But once you become present, you realize that every moment is a choice, not a reaction, not a default, a conscious, deliberate signal, broadcasted into the quantum field. And reality? It responds. Not to your words, not to your wishes, but to your vibration, your inner state, your belief, your clarity. This is what the illusion hides, that you've never been a victim. You've never been small. You've always been shaping the dream, even while asleep inside it. So now, the real question is no longer, why is life this way? But what frequency am I living on? And am I ready to change it? Because the illusion doesn't break with force. It dissolves through awareness. So now you see it. The illusion was never a curse. It was a teacher, a reflection, a beautifully complex dream designed to reveal who you are by first making you forget. And now that you're remembering, you can't go back to sleep. Not fully, not honestly. Because once the veil lifts, even just a little, everything changes. You start to feel the space between moments. You hear the silence beneath the noise. You recognize the patterns for what they are. Echoes of your own energy, rippling across the mirror of reality. You stop blaming. You stop chasing. You begin choosing, not from fear, not from habit, but from presence. You are not here to escape this world. You are here to wake up inside it, to remember that this life, this body, this story, this dream, is not the limit of who you are. It is the canvas, and the brush has always been in your hand. So the next time something shakes you, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What am I now being invited to see?" Because the illusion only holds power until you open your eyes.